So I always say this that, since the first day, I've never had to yet pay a penny for PR or media because you don't have to go around asking for attention. That's already there. What you have to do is do your job well.
Today we have Shriti here with us from Strawcture, a green building material company. So we started the Sustain to Scale series at Collaborat-her in association with HSBC, where we've covered the journeys of some phenomenal growth stage women founders. India is going through a very tough time, and we feel it's our duty to highlight people like yourself who are actually at the front line solving the crisis that we are going through. In our last episode, we covered a doctor turned entrepreneur, and today, Shriti, you're actually helping our country build hospitals in less than a month. And I couldn't be more proud and salute you. So, would love to know about Strawcture and your journey.
We're a for-profit company manufacturing a green building material, which is called biopanel, which is essentially compressing agri-waste, which is considered a waste and burnt stubble around North India, and turning that into a engineered panel, which is waterproof, fire and termite proof, to be used for making walls, ceilings, floor, and at times even a complete building with some amount of steel as support. And when we went into lockdown, we were asked by one of our partners based out of Bangalore called Selco Foundation to help them build a 50 to 75 bed hospital for Doctors for You in Patna in India. And that was in the month of May. And it took us around 60 days to build that hospital for them, which even last year was used as COVID relief health infrastructure. And right now, of course, it's 100% occupied by COVID patients. And going forward, we are again building around 2 to 3 isolation centers, 100 to 200 bed, this time going from 60 days to 30 days because the situations are much more dire.
I'm sure that the journey would have been, challenging. It must have had its own ups and downs because, let alone women, I don't even see too many men or entrepreneurs venturing out into construction as a space, right? So, would be great if you can run us through some of the challenges that you faced and how you mitigated them.
So very rightly said, I think construction or building material is not one of those industries like tech that innovates often. So challenges, I think, one of the biggest challenge I think see with the Indian market is like on a psychological level, we are like a risk averse kind of a society. So when you hear a new thing, your initial, reaction response is not to jump on it, but you're like, okay, I'm going to wait for someone else to do it and then I'll trust. And so for us, it took us 6 months to get our first customer. And from then to now, we have more than 50 customers that we have built for. So definitely initially it was very difficult to convince the first person but then thankfully we got that first customer who bought in and took the risk with us. And we built, the first customer was a school, and they built a 10,000 square feet school with us using this material. And since then it's been interesting for a company like us. It's not as simple as showing a brochure or a sample. You have to have a physical product. So the first hospital that you do is so important because that helps you to get the next hospital as a customer. So for every application, whether it's school, an office, a commercial office, you have to build the first one. It takes a lot of time. But then hopefully, because the material has the right properties and strength, it's easier to then convince future architects and designers for a similar application. And as a woman, I think it's, you enter a room and it's not like you try every time, at least I do, but it's just hard to not notice that you're the only one in the room. So that is always the case, but I think over a period of 3 years now, you and I see humor in that. So, and with time, you have less anxiety about that. The work that the company is doing is new. And also I, as a person, is very new in this space. So there's a lot of eyeballs, which help because if you can crack it once, so I always say this that, since the first day, I've never had to yet pay a penny for PR or media because you don't have to go around asking for attention. That's already there. What you have to do is do your job well. So as much as I get the eyeballs, it also makes you be wary of the fact that you don't have a lot of room to make mistakes.
I think you are one of those market category creators, right? You are leading the path for so many. And, I think just at an opportune time, I'm sure you started off building residential commercial. How did the switch happen to hospitals, right? And how have you kind of cracked the code there?
So for us, actually, it was the partnership with the foundation that I mentioned. So what we realized is that, this material, it has a natural property to be thermally insulating, which we thought, you would care more about in a hilly area, which people do. But we realized very soon when COVID hit that, especially in the outskirts of the country, where everywhere there's not like a nice private hospital or a multi-speciality hospital where you get an AC room, and even a general ward, in the interior of the country where there's nothing available, the built space in itself have to make the patient feel comfortable, because you cannot have centrally air conditioned and fan, because that's the thing with COVID. You don't want a lot of air circulation to happen within the room. So that as a disadvantage became a positive for us. So that gave us the opportunity to build the first hospital. And even now, I was just yesterday actually talking to the doctor who runs that hospital now. And he once in a while tells me, so we built it in April. He called me in December saying that, now that it's the winter season, I could genuinely feel the thermal comfort. And I've been told that by the patients. I feel it too. And I think that's the best feedback or testimonial you can get from them.
Absolutely. And, I think thanks for bringing out that, sustainability doesn't only always, is for a plus for the environment, but it's so good for us, right? Shriti, just as construction, real estate, just as a business, it's a very cash flow heavy operation, right? Also, a lot of credit cycles that you need to give your suppliers, or, even the person who you're building for, you need to extend them, right? And in all of this, I'm sure banks can play a very, very important role. So what, according to you, is a place that banks can kind of, play? What role can they play to maybe pave the path of the next development?
But what we have done from the very start is, we have worked with the banks. So we have a credit line, we have working capital from them. And that has really helped us to sustain ourselves for the last 3 years, because most of the work that we did was turnkey. So as you rightly said, if you're building a project, so the payment terms are also over a period of time. You don't get upfront payments because you've just sold something. And then there's a credit cycle with the vendors at the back end. So definitely the credit that we have from the bank has really helped. I definitely rely on debt. And even going forward, we are always going to do a hybrid of raising debt and equity, because for a business like ours in construction, in material space, that is much more required as a form of fund infusion than just equity. So I think for green construction, like in Europe, for instance, there's a lot of green bonds these days where they're kind of incentivizing it for a developer or a builder to go ahead and choose a green material, because that helps them get better financing from the banks for the township or the project that they have. So I think if a lot more commercial private banks start incentivizing green construction, then that already creates a push for green materials. Then a builder would approach us versus us approaching them.
Your industry primarily operates offline, right? And everyone shifted online, and I'm sure you're juggling. So how is this entire online shift for you? How do you manage?
For us, I remember when the lockdown happened last year in March, we just shut down the operation for one complete month because I couldn't think of a version of us working online. There is no version. I'm like, if we're doing a project, it is at site. Our material has to be sent physically. There's logistics involved. So there was no way of, doing anything online. But when the COVID hospital happened and we built it, we did try to find ways to, not make the whole team travel. So we have since then definitely become more optimized in terms of how many people need to be traveling for a certain work. So it can be do with one person than 4. So we've definitely pivoted in that sense. So that's definitely, I don't see a lot of boon for us as an industry, but I think what it can do is it can at least help to optimize the way we plan the build. So for example, India as a country has never relied a lot on software in construction space to monitor projects like, schedule or the quality checks. Everything's happened physically. Whereas in the US and all, they use a lot of software, drones and all to get the on-site real-time data. So I think that I already see a bit of push happening there. So I think in that aspect, unlike the sale part of it, a lot of things will become online. People will rely on software, but the actual build is still going to be a mix.
You can't take out the builder out of the building, right? It just is just humanly impossible to do that.
Yeah.
Shriti, you're clearly an inspiration for so many of us out there, and I'm sure there are so many other women founders out there who could, take nuggets of wisdom from your journey. So, if you could just share what your business mantra has been, with us.
When you're the founder or the co-founder, the one thing that you have to, execute more than anything is confidence. Like a lot of times, like when you're pitching to an investor, your projections are everything that will happen in future, and everything is an assumption. But the sense of conviction that you have as a founder is what usually 80% makes the deal happen. So I and I think most women would agree with that. You just fake it till you make it. So I enter a room and I'm just like, I need to seem like the expert here, even if I'm not. So of course, that doesn't mean you don't do your homework. You do as much as you can, but then you have to have a bit of a confidence there and say things. And then of course, like any entrepreneur, go back and figure out to do it. And then like people always say, don't say no. You say yes and you figure out how to do it. So that's, I think, and as women, you slightly have to do more often. So sometimes, you just have to be assertive for the sake of it, so that, people believe that you can then, execute the things that you're signing up for, that you're pitching for, and the things that they are putting in their time, effort, and money.
Just determination, great, and showing that you can do it. And, more than often, women discount themselves, even though they are 100% capable. So I think, what you pointed out is completely, taken in good faith.
Yeah.
Shriti, thanks so much. This was, really insightful, and we wish you and Strawcture all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you.